When I was living in Greenville, South Carolina, and putting my way through school, I managed a sporting goods store. And I had a large tennis section. And I was actually the buyer of all the tennis equipment for a chain of 12 stores. I had a working relationship with Dunlop Sports. And so I would help them test prototype rackets, and I would string rackets for professionals, including John McEnroe. So I was kind of a little tennis expert. I played tennis 3 to 5 times a week, and actually got to be pretty good. I had a lot of people come into my store to buy rackets and to have their rackets cared for and restrung. One guy, his name was Bruce. And he would come in pretty regularly, and we'd talk about tennis. And, I talked about what kind of string and tension he wanted, and he'd say, well, I really know, I think I kind of like it like this. And I'd make recommendations, maybe change to a different racket, different kind of string. He'd always listen. And he'd say, well, I like this, or I like that. And I'm going, okay, Bruce, you're an amateur. I'm a professional. I work for a tennis company. I string rackets for pros. I play tennis 5 times a week. I have all sorts of people tell me what they like. They don't know what they're talking about. And so I try to steer them a direction. And frankly, sometimes it might have been a little bit condescending. Until the day Bruce came in the store and said, how about we go play tennis? That's a great idea, Bruce. When you want to play? We set up a date for Saturday morning. I met him out at the place where he lived, where they had some tennis courts. And we got out there and we started warming up. I realized during the warm-up that he was better warming up than I was at my best. And I knew it was going to be an ugly game of tennis. Well, we played a match, 3 sets. I lost in straight sets, 6-love, 6-love, 6-love. He annihilated me. Afterwards, Bruce let me know that he was one of the top-ranked amateur tennis players in the state of South Carolina. In fact, he had finished runner-up in the amateur tournament the year before. The next time Bruce came into my store, I treated him with a whole lot more respect. And when he made a recommendation, I took it. When he talked about changing the grip on a racket, it's exactly what I thought I ought to do. Because I suddenly recognized he was good. And he was a powerful player. And my respect level went way up. So I would listen and defer. Jesus is saying that's the kind of heart we have to have about God. We need to recognize that he is ultimate goodness, that he has ultimate power, that he has ultimate wisdom, and therefore we should respect it enough that we listen and we defer. When Stephen Hawking talks about physics, I don't argue, I just listen. I don't understand, but I listen. And when Bill Belichick talks about football, I don't argue, I listen. And when Warren Buffett talks about money, I don't argue, I listen. And when Martha Stewart talks about prison, interior decorating, I don't argue, I listen, because I recognize they know so much more than me in these areas. And when it comes to love, when God talks, I shouldn't argue. I should just listen. Because there's nobody better at life, nobody smarter at life, nobody more powerful in life than God. And I simply give him respect. Now, it occurs to me that there are 2 basic ways to gain a real healthy respect for God. The first way is just ignore God. Just ignore him. We can go our own way, do our own thing, do what we think is right, and we'll probably learn along the way to respect God. I coach cross country. And every year I have a new crop of kids that come in. The 8th graders, freshmen. New kids that move in from other schools. And we have a way of training, and we have a way of racing. And one of the things we teach our kids is this. The biggest mistakes you can make in a cross-country race are all in the first mile. They're all in the first kilometer. Because if you go out too fast and you go out too hard, you will pay for it later in the race. And you will not race well. But inevitably, there's somebody who says, Coach, I think if I just go out with the leaders and I put myself in a position and just hang on, I can race better. And sometimes I'll try to explain the science behind it. But other times I'll do this. I'll say, okay, I'll tell you what, this next race, you do it your way. You go out hard. Go out with the leaders and just hang on. Just have enough heart, enough willpower. We'll see how you do. The gun goes off. People sprint out of the starting box, and there goes that new runner, looking awesome. Running with the big boys, running with the big girls, out there in the lead. They pass 1 kilometer. They pass 1 mile. They're still looking great. But I know what's already happened. I already know they're in oxygen debt. I know that their body is now trying to produce energy anaerobically. And the byproduct of that is lactic acid. And it's already accumulating in the muscle fibers of their legs. And their legs are already getting heavy. And they're already getting tired. And the electronic signals for the muscles to fire are starting to slow down. And suddenly their legs begin to feel like they weigh 1,000 pounds apiece. And I see them at the 2-mile mark with this look of desperation on their face. Coach, how much farther is the race? It's 3.1 miles, just like them all. And I see them come through the finish chute, looking horrible, getting blown by other runners that have run smarter. And then the race is over, and they come up to me, and I look them in the eye, and I put my hand on their shoulder, and I say, how'd it go? Coach, that was horrible. Maybe next time you want to run my way. Oh, that feels like a good idea. Do you know what God does to us? Sometimes he says, go out hard if you want. Do it your way if it makes sense to you. Go ahead. You think that's how you want to do business? Do business that way. You think that's how you want to build a marriage? Build a marriage that way. You think that this is the kind of person you want to be? Go ahead and be that way. You think that's what you really want to pursue because that makes for a good life? Go for it. But you know what inevitably happens? We go out hard, and then we start to really, really hurt. And eventually we begin to break down and recognize this isn't working. Sometimes we develop a healthy respect for God by ignoring God and God going, do it your way for a while. See how it hurts. There's another way we can learn to respect God. This might be a little bit better way. We can do it by obeying God. By just going, okay, God, here's the deal. I'm going to respect you enough to let you call the shots. And when we do it God's way, and we experience his goodness, his reality, his wisdom, his power, we experience it in the way our life unfolds, we begin to develop a healthier respect for God. I'm reminded of an episode that happened in the life of Jesus. When he was passing by the Sea of Galilee, and he saw Peter and his brother Andrew and James and John. And he knew them because they'd already spent time together. And these guys had already followed him for a while, but now they'd kind of gone back fishing. And Jesus had a big multitude following him, so he asked Peter for one of his boats, and he put the boat out from shore and he used it to teach this multitude of people. When he got done teaching, he looked at Peter and said, how's the fishing been? Peter said, fishing's been really bad. We fished all night long and didn't catch a thing. Jesus said this. He said, here's what I want you to do, Peter. I want you to get back in your boat. I want you to launch out to that spot over there. I want you to throw down your nets. You'll get a great catch.